What's going on, everyone? It's Travis Brown. We're here at the Charles Schwab Field in Omaha. I'm next to, you might recognize this guy from a few years ago, former KAGS sports director, now Oklahoma City News 9's Lee Benson. He covers the Sooners up there, who is Texas A&M's first opponent here at the College World Series. Lee, what have you seen from the Sooners this year? I know they talked about a lot of chaos, a lot of a different offense than maybe A&M has seen this year. In covering the Sooners this year, what have you seen from them, and what do A&M fans have to expect from them?
Sure. Oklahoma, you go back 2 months ago, and it was a team a little over 500, weren't thinking much of them, and then like a switch was flipped, and they played incredible baseball since about mid-April, and it's all about, obviously, pitching and hitting, and they've always been a good hitting team. The pitching has really come around, especially here in the NCAA tournament, and it's one of those things, you're a baseball guy as well, it's so bizarre how whenever a lineup can hit so well, it seems like there's like synergy there, and the pitching gets better. And even though you wouldn't think there's much to do with one another because they're two separate things, both sides have played so well. And right now, I know every team entering this tournament is super hot. Obviously, I know A&M is incredibly hot right now, but Oklahoma, it feels like they're one of those teams where in baseball you get super hot and you just wonder, when's it going to end? And I keep thinking 2 weekends ago, it's probably going to start to fizzle out, that magic. Last weekend against Virginia Tech, thought it was going to fizzle out. It didn't, and here we are in Omaha. So Oklahoma's been a fun team to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup against A&M. It's kind of surreal since I covered the Aggies like you did, 5-6 years ago, and now here we are covering Oklahoma and Texas A&M.
Yeah, of course. Pitching standpoint, what have you seen from their pitchers? What can A&M expect from some of those arms? I know, as is all college baseball teams here, very offensive heavy. What can they do from the pitching side?
Well, Oklahoma's ace is Jake Bennett. Probably going to see him tomorrow. I know Skip Johnson, though, did not
dodge my question a little bit.
Yeah, and he did that last week at Blacksburg, too. So that's kind of what he's been doing right now. I expect to see Jake Bennett, big lefty, throws hard. His ERA is around 3 here in the NCAA tournament. Knocked off Florida, beat Virginia Tech. So you'll see him out of the bullpen. Their closer, Trevin Michael, has been fantastic. And on not that we're going to get there, but David Sandlin's their next starter. And Cade Horton closed out the Blacksburg Super Regional. So he's a player where I'm not sure how Skip Johnson's going to manage his pitching staff in game 1 of the series. Surely he wants Bennett to go as long as possible, but Cade Horton's a guy that you might be able to see right out of the bullpen early on, especially if Bennett struggles against the Aggies.
Offensively, like I mentioned before, their team, they talked about how did they kind of define their offense. They said they like to play chaotic, to create chaos. That's not necessarily great for the Aggies, who have struggled defensively, have especially struggled with PFPs, pitchers fielding bunts, things like that. And Jim Schlossnagle said it's unlike any offense they've seen in the SEC because there's a lot of teams that can thump in the SEC. Offensively, what does that chaos look like? And you're a baseball guy, for a team that might struggle a little bit with bringing some errors in the game, especially the pitching perspective. How does that matchup favor the Sooners or the Aggies?
So I've done a little bit of research on the game, and on paper, I think this does match up well for Oklahoma because I know A&M starting pitching has been a little shaky recently, and Oklahoma is so good offensively, especially like you mentioned, they get opposing pitchers uncomfortable because they steal a lot of bases, by far the most stolen bases of any team here in Omaha. I know A&M is number 2 behind Oklahoma. So yeah, you heard Skip Johnson today talk about how you have to be willing to make mistakes to have success, and he's not afraid to have these guys go out there and run a lot and make mistakes, and it creates success on the base pass because the other team has to make plays, and it works out for them. And the big reason why I think they're able to do it so much, though, is that 1 through 9 they're getting on base, so it makes it a lot easier to run when you got guys constantly on base. And as you mentioned with A&M, I'm curious to see if like you said, if their PFPs and their fielding is not the snuff, those little things, the details, that's going to be the difference most likely in games here in Omaha.
Could be close to what A&M saw in Louisiana Lafayette, a team that likes to run the Matt Deggs. I know you remember Matt Deggs from the Sam Houston State thing. So I'm not going to ask for prediction, but the 3 keys that you think Oklahoma, or a few keys Oklahoma needs to pull out the win.
Well, probably they're similar to A&M. Starting pitching is always important. If they get to Jake Bennett early, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm curious to see what the bullpen would look like. So starting pitching, as far as the bats go, if Oklahoma just keeps playing the way they are, especially against a starting pitcher for A&M, who I believe has been kind of shaky so far in the NCAA tournament, that looks good on paper. So starting the bats, hitting the same way, 1 through 9. And then you get to Trevin Michael, the closer in the bullpen. If Oklahoma can get to him, he's been phenomenal so far in the NCAA tournament. Has only allowed a couple of runs. Those are the three keys, but maybe the main key, though, is Jim Schlossnagle, because he had some success against Skip Johnson in Oklahoma at TCU. Since Skip Johnson got there in 2018, I believe TCU was 7-3 against the Sooners. So that might be one of those not looked at too much X factors in the game.
Thanks so much, Lee. You can find his stuff at Oklahoma News 9 up in Oklahoma City, and we'll be back for more coverage here from the College World Series.